Hello friends, today we are going to talk on overview of changes introduced by Companies Act 2013. In the previous lecture, we have already seen the background and silent features of Companies Act 2013. Now today, in this video, I am going to cover overview of various new changes introduced by the Companies Act of 2013. Now here, there are various changes which are highlighted in this PowerPoint presentation. They are related with the key concepts which are introduced by the new Act of Companies Act 2013. The very first change is immediate changes in the letterhead. It means that the bills or the official communications or the letterhead of a company, if full name, address of its registered office, corporate identity number, which is having 21 digit number allotted by the government, telephone number, fax number, email ID, web addresses, etc. All these should be printed on the letterhead of a company. This is the very first change which is introduced by the Companies Act of 2013, and from onwards every company they need to mention all the details of their companies, that is email ID, fax number and telephone number, then its corporate identity number. Everything should be printed on the letterhead of a company. Now the second and very most important feature of this Companies Act 2013 is OPC, that is one person company. It's a new feature which is added in the Companies Act. So one person company means it is a private company having only one and at least one director. It means now onwards anyone can start a company with one person. The company will be a private company which will be having either one member or one director. For this company, certain privileges are given by the government. For example, there is no compulsion to hold annual general meeting for one person company. Conversion of existing one person company with a paid up capital of rupees 50 lakh and turnover up to rupees 2 crore into one person company is permitted. It means that suppose if a person is having a private company but now he wants to convert his company into one person company, then there is one restriction that there should be at least 50 lakh rupees paid up capital and turnover of the private company should be 2 crores or more. Then such a private company, that is existing private company, can be converted into one person company as per the Act of 2013. So this is the great feature which is given by Company Act 2013 to us. Now the third important feature of Companies Act 2013 is, as you know, since last 8 to 10 years back, we are saying that so many companies, there is a harassment with the women's, and because of these situations which were prevailing in our country, government has made it compulsory to all the listed companies or the public companies, those who are having a paid up capital of rupees 100 crores or more, or a companies whose turnover is 300 crores or more, all these companies must have one woman director in their company. The reason behind having one woman director in their company is that companies can solve their all the sexual harassment problems regarding women in their company, and therefore suppose if any existing company is being established with the act of by the Act of 1956, but from 2013 onward such company has to make changes in their board of directors and they have to appoint compulsorily one woman director in their company. But the condition is company should be listed or a public company and the paid up capital of company should be 100 crores or more with a turnover of 300 crores or more. For such companies, at least one woman director is compulsory condition. So this is the new change which is being introduced by the Company Act of 2013. Next feature is resident director. Now, resident director means what? For every company, there must be a director who stay in India for at least a period of 182 days or more in the previous calendar year. It means that now you know that directors are the person those who are elected by the members of the company. But with the 2013 Act privileges, director can be a director of 20 companies simultaneously. So the situation is so many times the directors are not staying in India, but also they are staying in abroad, but they are having a directorship of Indian companies. So therefore, Indian Companies Act of 2013, they have made a restriction to the directors that a company must have one at least a resident director. It means such a director should be in India for at least 182 days or more. Then and then only such a director will be considered as an resident director in the company. Now, who has decided the limit of 182 days? Actually, in Income Tax Act 1961, the residential status of a company is mentioned, and the basic condition of residential status of a person is a person should be in India for at least 182 days or more. If the person satisfies this condition, then a person could be called as a resident in India. So therefore, Company Act says at least one director should be a resident director in India. The next change which is brought up by the Company Act 2013 is accounting year. As you know, as per 2013 Act, every company shall follow uniform accounting year, that is, which will be started from 1st of April and it will be end on 31st of March. It means now onwards every company has to start their accounting year from the 1st April and it has to end up on the 31st of March every year. Next feature is loan to directors. Now this is the new feature which is added. The company cannot advance any kind of loan or guarantee or security to any director. Director of holding company, his partner, his relative, firm in which he or his relative is partner, private limited company in which he is a director or a member, or any other body corporate whose 25% or more of the total voting powers for board of directors is controlled by him. It means that now in a company where you are being appointed as a director, or in a company where you are holding shares more than 25%, then such company cannot grant loan to the director. So this is the one more change which is being made by the Act of 2013, that companies cannot grant loan to the director if such a person is a director in the company, or he is a director, or he is a holder of 25% or more of the shares, that is having the voting powers in the company, or where the company is controlled by that particular director. So company cannot grant loan to that particular director. Next change is articles of association. Articles of association is nothing but this is the rules and guidelines of the company. The entire company is based on the company's rules and regulations, functioning, what will be happen, how the company will function. So everything is mentioned in the articles of association of company. So generally it is called as an rule book. So in the next general meeting, it is desirable to adopt table F as a standard set of articles of association of company with relevant changes to suit the requirements of the company. Further, Every copy of memorandum and articles issued to the members should be contain a copy of all the resolutions or agreements that are required to be filed with the registrar. It means that now if any company have previously prepared their articles of association, still such company have to prepare their articles of association as per table F, which is mentioned in the Company Act of 2013. And all these companies, whatever the table F format is given, in that format all the agreements and resolutions which are passed by the company, it should be recorded in that particular table F, articles of association. So new form of articles of association is mentioned in the table F. Next point is disqualification of directors. It means that all the existing directors of the company, they must have DIN number. DIN stand for Directors Identification Number. Actually, this number is allotted by the central government to the directors, and for those directors who have already been allotted a DIN number, they need not take any action. Directors, those who don't have any sort of directors identification number, should initiate the process of getting the directors identification number allotted to him and inform companies. The company in turn has to inform the registrar. It means that now suppose you are a director in a company, and if you wish to continue a directorship in the company, at that time, as per the new Act of Companies Act 2013, you have to apply for the directors identification number. Now why Company Act 2013 is saying that you are supposed to be having a directors identification number? Because whenever a company is being entering into the agreement or a contract with any other third party, so at that time director have to mention his directors identification number, so that it will prevent the frauds and misappropriation of cash in the company, and it will create a transparency in the transactions of a company. And therefore the directors, those who will not hold a valid directors identification number, they will be called as a disqualification for the directorship. Now the next point is appointment of statutory auditor. Every listed company, listed means one which is listed in the Bombay Stock Exchange, National Stock Exchange, or any other recognized stock exchange, every listed company can appoint an individual auditor for 5 years and a firm of auditors for 10 years. This period of 5 or 10 years commences from the date of their appointment. Therefore, those companies have reappointed their statutory auditors for more than 10 or 5 years have to appoint the another auditor in annual general meeting for the year 2014. It means now onwards every company have to make an appointment of statutory auditor for a period of 5 years, and if it is a firm of auditors, then auditor should be appointed for 10 years. Next point is financial year. Under the new act, all companies have to follow a uniform financial year, that is from 1st April to 31st March. Those companies which follow a different financial year have to align their accounting year to 1st April to 31st March within 2 years. It is desirable to do the same as early as possible, since most of the compliances are on financial year basis under the new Companies Act. It means now onward every company have to follow their financial year from 1st April and it has to end with the 31st of March. Those who are not following the financial year from 1st April and they are following some another date, within 2 years they have to follow the financial year and they have to start their financial transactions from the 1st April and it has to be end up with the 31st of March every year. This is one of the important feature of Companies Act 2013, that is National Company Law Tribunal. In short, we can call it as an NCLT. National Company Law Tribunal, it has replaced the High Court and the Company Law Board. Actually, whenever companies are having any sort of dispute, previously they were going to the High Court or the Company Law Board, but now National Company Law Tribunal has replaced the High Court and the Company Law Board. Now, every proceeding presented in front of the National Company Law Tribunal, it shall be dealt with and disposed of within 3 months. It means, suppose if company is being submitting or filing any of the dispute in the National Company Law Tribunal, it has to get its result within the 3 months. The National Company Law Tribunal, it exercise and discharge the powers and functions including approval for mergers, corporate recognition, capital reduction, extension of financial year, etc. It means that now companies can solve their disputes with a very fast procedure under this National Company Law Tribunal Board. Next is appointment of key managerial personnel. Actually, in the Act of 2013, a new definition of company's key managerial personnel has been introduced. Key managerial personnel means these are the persons appointed in the company who are responsible for the entire functioning of the business of a company. So, key managerial personnel has included company secretary within the definition of key managerial personnel. No company shall have both, that is managing director and the manager at the same time. It means that key managerial personnel, it should consist of managing director, company secretary, chief executive officer and chief financial officer. So these are the new terms which are introduced in the Company Act of 2013. And the last one is revival and rehabilitation of sick companies. You might be very well knowing that the case of Vijay Mallya's Kingfisher Airline. Actually, the Kingfisher Airline is now sick, but in 2013 Act, there is a provision of revival and rehabilitation of sick companies. Here, the meaning of sick company means the company which are unable to pay its debt, and suppose if any person, one who is a creditor of the company and he is demanding from the company a money which is more than rupees 50,000, and if the company is not able to pay that 50,000 rupees at least to that creditor, then at that time a creditor can go into the court of law, he can file a suit against the company and he can request the court to declare the company as an sick company. When the company becomes or company getting a status of sick company, at that time company cannot do their regular transactions because the company is declared as a sick company. So here the criteria of erosion of 50% of the net worth of being sick have been dispensed with. It means a company has borrowed or company does not have the money at least 50% of their total net worth, then such companies will be declared as an sick company. And for these sick companies, the Government of India in the Companies Act of 2013, they have created one fund for rehabilitation of sick company. So these were the changes introduced by the Companies Act of 2013. Thank you.